lights they are bright at this time to dance. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show you live for. It is GINORMOUS. It is July 23rd, 2025, 9:38 p.m. Right now, the Boston Red Sox are in the middle, top of the ninth. 6-6 tied game against the Philadelphia Phillies, looking like it's going to go into extra innings. Aroldis Chapman just gave up a game-tying home run to JT Realmuto, so we'll see where that game goes. But right now, that's not here what we're here to talk about. We are looking at, for today's episode, Ginormous number 9, the SummerSlam card and what it is looking like so far, and I'm going to be giving you guys some of my thoughts on it. So as of right now, SummerSlam is still 2 weeks away, so there's still a little bit of build that has to go on. There are still some matches that have yet to be announced, some possible ones that look like they're in the works and that will be announced. But as of right now, we are looking at a pretty solid card. Another match was just announced today that we will get into. So yeah, let's talk about it. So first off, we are going to start with John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. Obviously, this is going to be a rematch of the WrestleMania 41 encounter. And my thoughts on Cena versus Rhodes, it should be a much better match than their WrestleMania 41 main event, which I hate to say was a little bit of a stinker. Partially I would say is because John Cena is slower and more methodical, and I'm not going to knock Cody Rhodes because obviously he's more than capable of having a classic match. Look no further than the one he had with Roman Reigns. But I'm not so sure that at that particular moment, Cody Rhodes was ready to kind of work around John Cena, his strengths and weaknesses. Him being a bad guy was still really, him being John Cena, was still in its developing stages. And I don't think kind of the shock of that had really gone over on the fans yet and resonated with them. So I think for whatever reason, that and obviously the Travis Scott one and The Rock sticking his nose in his business in the build to that match and then not even getting involved in WrestleMania, those were things that really dragged down the match. Now, with The Rock, and especially with main event stories, world championship stories, you never know. Of course, he could stick his nose and change plans last minute anytime he wants to, which in my opinion would really ruin it because this build I would say has been pretty good so far. We still have 2 weeks left to go, but I think so far so good on this feud. Whether or not I think Cody Rhodes is going to win, I'm not sure. I think you could go either way with it. Cody Rhodes definitely could plausibly win the championship here, and it would make a lot of sense. But also, John Cena could retain and go on this heel run for a little bit longer, which, in my opinion, would also make a decent amount of sense. So you can go either way with it. Either way, I would not be upset. I'm not so sure if John Cena is going to hold the championship until his last ever match. On different podcasts through the barricade, I did predict that. As time has gone on, I'm not so sure, especially with how the fans are just urging to cheer John Cena now. I'm not sure. We will see on that matter. But yeah, I'm really excited for this match. I think that they've done a good job, and I think second time around, they're really going to learn from their previous mistakes, and they're going to make it a memorable main event, and which obviously I assume it will be. So going into the second match now, we have Naomi versus Io Sky versus Rhea Ripley for the Women's World Heavyweight Championship. At Evolution this past month, Naomi cashed in on Rhea Ripley and Io Sky, made it the triple threat match a la Seth Rollins. What happened there? And became the Women's World Champion. I'm going to be honest with you, this seems like a match where Rhea Ripley would win it. They didn't have all this build where Rhea Ripley could not beat Io Sky and was struggling to and just wasn't able to get the job done for nothing, in my opinion. And I'm going to say I'm a little bit down on this match for that reason. Maybe this is just me as a fan who is convinced that Rhea Ripley is going to win. I don't give Naomi a lot of a chance here. Of course, maybe she could retain it. Maybe she could go on, have a long title reign, and prove me wrong. But in my brain, the way I look at it is, why would they have Io Sky consistently beat and or evade any losses to Rhea Ripley just for the payoff where Rhea Ripley should finally get her win against Io Sky, be a triple threat match where the champion, who is Naomi, a third party in this whole rivalry, retain? And that's kind of where I'm struggling with it. It's going to be a great match. I think that Naomi has done a fantastic job ever since she turned heel. I'm so happy for her that she won the Money in the Bank. She more than deserved it, and she more than deserved a World Heavyweight Championship run. I'm just more so concerned that this is going to be one of those things where they give it to her just to say that she has the accolade now in her career, and then they just kind of go on with the status quo. Rhea Ripley wins the World Heavyweight Championship, and that's the only reason why I'm kind of down on this match. I would just like to clarify it has nothing to do with the talent in the ring. Rhea, Io, Naomi, all three of them are world championship level competitors, and I do believe that they're going to put on a very good match. Again, just to clarify, I'm just not so happy with the direction that I believe that match is going to go in. Now, look, they may surprise me, they may surprise a lot of people, but I really hope that's the case. Because we've seen Rhea Ripley win the World Championship several times. She can go without it, and I would really like to see Naomi get her flowers for at least a little bit longer. She doesn't have to go on this year-long championship run, but I would like to see Naomi be champion at least for 2 or 3 more months, because every champion, unless you're Roman Reigns, I suppose, or Bruno Sammartino, does have their shelf life, and I do believe that everyone does deserve their flowers, especially with such a stacked women's roster. Going on to the next women's match, we have Jade Cargill versus Tiffany Stratton. This past Friday night on SmackDown, they did a really cool promo package where Jade Cargill finally expressed that, she had been long for this moment. She's been waiting much too long to be in the World Championship scene. Obviously, she won Queen of the Ring by defeating Asuka. And Tiffany Stratton had the stance of, oh, who's the World Champion? It's not Charlotte Flair. It's not Trish Stratus. I beat both of those people. I beat both of those legends, one Hall of Famer, one soon-to-be Hall of Famer. And Tiffany Stratton was the one who came out on top. She's always been labeled as this underdog. She's always been labeled as this person who's always going to have kind of the leg down, if you will, in matches. And Tiffany Stratton is really confident going into this match, as is Jade Cargill. Now, these two had a match, the SmackDown after WrestleMania. It was really good, and I am expecting the same, if not greater, from these two women in this matchup. I think those two are going to once again knock it out of the park. As you can see so far with these 3 matches, I have pretty high expectations in terms of the in-ring quality, because you know what? They need to be great. This is the first ever 2-night SummerSlam. This is a really big experiment, and one that obviously is going to continue because they can't really go back from here. So I'm expecting a lot of big things. They've obviously put a lot of effort into making this 2-night card look good. We're not sure which ones will be on Saturday and Sunday just yet. Those have yet to be announced, but they will in due time. But yeah, so going to Jade and Tiffany, so far, I wouldn't say the story between the two has been incredibly strong just yet. It hasn't been incredibly heated. Really what it was Jade Cargill won the Queen of the Ring and earned her right to challenge Tiffany Stratton at SummerSlam for the WWE Women's Championship. And like I said, there's still 2 weeks, so plenty of time to build anticipation for this matchup. They did a little bit this past Friday night on SmackDown, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what the build is going to be like from here, and I'm really excited for this matchup. Going on to my personal favorite, or one of my personal favorite rivalries in this match and in this show, Jacob Fatu versus Solo Sikoa in a steel cage match for the United States Championship. Now, they did a really cool segment. It kind of reminds you of Ruthless Aggression, Attitude Era-esque, on this past Friday Night SmackDown, where Solo and his crew tried to frame Jacob Fatu of T-boning Solo Sikoa's car. Obviously, it turned out false. They got into a big brawl with the family. Jimmy Uso was also involved, and that match was announced by Adam Pearce that it is going to be a steel cage match. I'm expecting this not to be a 5-star classic. I'm not expecting this to be any sort of tricks and flips and all these spots. I'm expecting this match to be very violent. I would not be surprised if you see some crimson in this match. I would not be surprised if there's bleeding. And I think it's going to be very physical. I think this is going to be a grudge match, a blow-off match of epic proportions. The story has been fantastic going into this, building all the way since last year. The story of Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu coming into his own once Solo Sikoa left after losing the tribal combat match against Roman Reigns to get the Ulufala off of him. And ever since then, Jacob Fatu has completely taken off, become such a good champion in his own right, former United States champion, going to fight for it again this SummerSlam, and I'm really excited for it. There's not too much else to say because there's been so much build on it. There's been so much that's going on. I could dedicate honestly, a whole hour-long episode to this rivalry. I've talked a lot about it at length, and this is going to be the big blow-off. I don't know who's going to win this matchup, to be honest with you, and I didn't even say who I think was going to win the previous one either. It could go either way between Jade and Tiffany Stratton, and I could go the same for Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa as well. I'm not sure who's going to win these two matches, and I think that really has been the theme so far, and I think that unpredictability really lends itself well to an exciting card where the fans can really be anticipated for a show where anything can happen, and it's not going to be this crazy thing where it's like, oh, okay, well, we know this guy's winning, we know this girl's winning, we know this, we know that, point A, point B, cross your T's, dot your I's. Like, it's going to be unpredictable, and I think that really lends itself well to an exciting match card. So going to the next match that I am very excited for, speaking of, it is going to be Gunther versus CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship. And first of all, CM Punk, me growing up, I loved CM Punk. I loved all the work that he did with the Straight Edge Society and obviously the Voice of the Voiceless afterwards. Like, that's old news. I love what he's doing now. I love that just now they're really starting to ingratiate him into the World Championship picture. That's something that CM Punk always said that he wanted to do, but obviously Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre have gotten in his way, so he hasn't really been able to go forward on that promise. And I'm really happy to see that at a big event like this, CM Punk really is, for the first time, I'd say about almost 2 years now into his return, getting his first real shot at the World Championship. I'm really excited for that, and I think it was well done. They plotted it out. They built this well, and I think it's going to be a really good match between these two. CM Punk obviously still has a lot left in the tank at his mid-40s age. Gunther has been on an absolute roll. I think he looks a lot more comfortable the second time around as World Heavyweight Champion than he did the first, and I think he's going to knock it out of the park. These two are going to have a really good match. Junbro just texted me. That's why you hear that ping. I'm really excited. So, kind of what I want to talk about real quickly. There have been rumors that this Seth Rollins injury has kind of been faked. This is all part of the story where people want to believe, or this group wants to make believe that Seth Rollins is hurt. That way, when he cashes in at SummerSlam, it's this unpredictable moment, makes Seth Rollins look like this complete and utter visionary. And I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't really want to get into, is he hurt, is he not hurt, because if I'm just like, oh, it's all fake, oh, it's all this, just at least in my opinion, it makes me come off as a little bit inconsiderate, and just, I don't want to speculate on is it or is it not. All I'm going to say is we will see. If that is the case, then it is a really Seth Rollins-esque storyline. That's kind of the perfect touch. That's a la him, and I think it would have been really well done. But if not, obviously, I think that the match that we get between Gunther and CM Punk is going to be a very good match, and I will say I do believe that Gunther will retain. I do think that, obviously, he retired Bill Goldberg, so that's a big notch in his belt, but I do think that a signature win against a megastar, no pun intended, in his prime, even though he's still in his mid-40s, CM Punk is still capable of putting on a very good match. So in his prime, Gunther needs kind of a signature victory like that on the World Championship scene. And I think that if not for Seth Rollins, if Seth Rollins does not cash in, if that's not the reality, then I think that you're going to see Gunther win this match. Lyra versus Becky going on to the next match for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. No holds barred. If Lyra Valkyria loses, she can never challenge for the Women's Intercontinental Championship again. I have been talking about this feud because it's been going on for a long time now, and it has kept me interested from point A to point Z. The rivalry between these two, they have natural chemistry. They're so gifted in the ring together. I've been on the record saying I believe Lyra Valkyria is better than Becky Lynch and will overall have a better career than Becky Lynch. And obviously, right now, the legacy, because Becky was there first, is greater on Becky Lynch's end. But I just see Lyra Valkyria come out and just like the way she speaks with such confidence, such conviction, and just the way that she commits herself to her character and tries so hard to become better on the microphone. In my opinion, she gets better and better each week from a character standpoint, and that's been really great to see. Obviously, Bayley being thrown into the mix. They had a triple threat match at Evolution. Bayley being thrown into the mix has kind of thrown a little bit of a monkey wrench in it. Not a negative one, because Bayley's doing great work in their career, and Bayley's my personal favorite women's wrestler of all time. So if you ask me, most of the stuff she does is going to be good, and you're going to get a biased answer from me. So maybe I'm not the best person to ask. But I think that this is going to be, once again, a blow-off match between the two. I think that Becky Lynch won that triple threat match for the sole purpose of these two having a one-on-one match. Of course, card is subject to change, but they're going to have a one-on-one match, and this was the whole purpose of that. And for Lyra Valkyria to get that signature win in her career against Becky Lynch to win her second Women's Intercontinental Championship, that I will predict, and that I believe is going to be what happens in that match. Here's one that is a little controversial amongst the fans, and I'm not sure why. Randy Orton and Jelly Roll versus Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul. First of all, let me say this. Wrestling, since WrestleMania 1, and even a little bit before that, has always involved celebrities. For better or for worse, because don't get me wrong, there are a lot of bad celebrity matches, there are a lot of bad celebrity vignettes, cameos in wrestling that clearly they look like a fish out of water. And you know what? I'm not that very confident that Jelly Roll is going to be able to put in a match or effort, kind of like at the time when Logan Paul wasn't a full-time wrestler and he was considered a celebrity did, or Bad Bunny for that matter. I think those two have kind of gotten our hopes up a little bit higher than maybe they should be. But you know what? It's going to be a part of lore. It's going to be a part of history. You know, Randy Orton and Jelly Roll, it's a little bit of a weird pairing, but you know what? I've heard Chris Jericho so many times in interviews say, if you're not gonna be in the World Championship picture or main event scene, you're gonna want to be in the opening. If you're not gonna want to be in the opening, then you're gonna want a celebrity match. That's what he was talking about, and Chris Jericho is an all-time legend in WWE, currently in AEW. But Chris Jericho was saying, if you're not gonna be first, last, or a World Championship picture, then you're going to want to have that celebrity match because it gets all the eyes on you. Now, people just are complaining because they feel as though it's above Drew McIntyre. They feel as though it's above Randy Orton. But I just got to disagree with that. You know, I'm not right now really in the mood to rip wrestling fans and tear them a new one. But all I'm going to tell you is Lawrence Taylor has main evented WrestleMania, one of the greatest defensive players of all time, arguably the best defensive player of all time. And he main evented WrestleMania, the showcase of the Immortals, the Super Bowl of the WWE, and you guys are going to complain because a guy is tag teaming with a celebrity and Drew McIntyre is tag teaming with Logan Paul, who at one point was a pure YouTuber. It's going to be a spectacle. I think that obviously Orton, Logan Paul, Drew McIntyre, they're going to do the majority of the heavy lifting in this match, and whenever Jelly Roll does go in, it's going to be fun, it's going to be entertaining. I'm not so sure, like I said, you're going to see anything too crazy, but it's a spectacle. That's what it is. SummerSlam is the second biggest show of the year, and it was in need of a spectacle, and they made a spectacle. Just take it for what it is. It's not anything that's going to ruin Randy Orton's legacy. It's not above Drew McIntyre or Logan Paul. It's a spectacle. So I think we should just enjoy it as such, because I think that's what a lot of people, especially the people in the crowd, will be doing. Going into the next match, one that I am really excited for, and it's kind of one that's going to be on the undercard and not talked about, but I think this is worth talking about a lot. Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss versus Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez for the Women's World Tag Team Championships. Now, Roxanne and Raquel, they've had an interesting storyline going on as Roxanne Perez has filled in for Liv Morgan as the tag team partner for Raquel Rodriguez, who has been on an absolute tear, by the way. Props to Raquel Rodriguez. She has been, in my opinion, the most improved on the women's side of the roster of Raw and SmackDown this year. I'm really happy for her, seeing her come into her own. And Roxanne Perez is, in my opinion, the future world champion. She just has it. I don't know how else to say it. She has it. Versus Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, who have kind of had this odd couple pairing. And Wade Barrett on commentary said it best. Charlotte Flair, because of Alexa Bliss, is having fun again. And Charlotte Flair having fun is when she is at her best. She's allowed to breathe, let her hair down figuratively. And Charlotte Flair, these past couple of weeks, has looked good. She's getting, and I never thought I would see this, to be honest with you, no, not to be dramatic. I did not think I would ever see Charlotte Flair getting cheered in a wrestling ring again and being endeared by the fans, and she has Alexa Bliss to thank for that. And I really think that this is going to be a good match. I'm not sure who's going to win. I think that's kind of a toss-up and a bit of a coin flip, but we will see because, again, Charlotte Flair's career was on life support, and that's not an exaggeration. She still has all the talent in the world, but the fans were apathetic towards her because she didn't have a personality change. And because of Alexa Bliss, she now has that, and I think it's going to bring the best out of both women. And Roxanne, who has a huge showcase here, I believe, I'm sorry if I do not have this factually correct, I believe this is Raquel Rodriguez's SummerSlam debut as well. So I'm really happy that these women are getting this exposure. It's going to be a good match. I really have some kind of high hopes for that. Maybe I should tamper it a little bit, but given the names involved, I think it should be really good. Going on now, we have two more matches to go so far. Dominic Mysterio versus AJ Styles. And to be honest with you, I don't have this deep analysis of this match, but what I will tell you is it's been very entertaining. And kind of what I said about Charlotte Flair does kind of apply to AJ Styles here as well. Because when he came back from injury for the second time, went to Monday Night Raw, he did kind of just for whatever reason look a bit stiff. And I don't mean physically, I just mean in terms of the entertainment aspect, talking about things, with the backstage segments on the microphone. He, for whatever reason, did not seem comfortable. And with him kind of doing the stalker storyline with Dominic Mysterio as he's faking an injury, and AJ Styles is always like, I got my eye on you, always making sure that he's been supervised. I just think it's been fun. AJ Styles has been allowed to show a little bit of character. He's having fun again, and I think it's going to be a really good match. The results of the match, I do think it's a toss-up because, of course, Dominic Mysterio just won the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania, so he's had it for about 5-6 months now. A decent long reign, but he hasn't had, I would say, the most memorable reign, so I could totally understand why you'd want to give it to Styles, but I also understand if you would want to give Dominic Mysterio a big signature victory as well, and I could totally see them doing that. The next match, was just announced today, but I do not believe it's a surprise to that many, given what has been happening on Raw the past couple of weeks. It is Roman Reigns and Jey Uso versus Big Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker, and this is going to be a banger of a match, in my opinion. I'm really happy to see that Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker are getting this exposure against these two former world champions in Jey Uso and Roman Reigns. I'm really happy that even though Jey Uso, lost the World Heavyweight Championship to Gunther, and I would say has lost a little bit of his steam, I'm really happy to see that he's getting this big spotlight. He's still getting involved in the main event picture, and he has a really big-time match at SummerSlam, teaming up with his cousin Roman Reigns as kind of a mini bloodline reunion, if you will, against these two up-and-comers in Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. I will say this, the build so far has kind of had Bronson Reed but be a little bit quiet. I would like to see in the next upcoming weeks, I would like to see Bronson Reed kind of come out of his shell in this group, because when Bronson Reed was a solo act, it appeared as though he was really starting to come out of his shell and kind of make it into his own, and ironically enough, that's when that all started when he attacked Seth Rollins and feuded with Seth Rollins out of nowhere. Hello, Will Nicholson. Nice to meet you. How you doing? He just texted me. There he is. Thank you. He just gave me some good information that I needed. But yeah, I'm really excited for this match. I think it's going to be good. Personally, I hope it doesn't main event. It would make sense that it does because, it's Roman Reigns. They always have kind of the bloodline people main event. But you know what? For better or for worse, that's going to be a good match. I'm excited for it. And as of right now, every match that I just talked about is on the confirmed card for SummerSlam. There are a few that I'd like to go over that I believe will happen or I'm curious about. really quickly, Karrion Kross versus Sami Zayn seems like a very likely match for SummerSlam. Karrion Kross defeated Sami Zayn because of shenanigans and cheating, and Karrion Kross does not yet seem satisfied. He does not yet believe that he has gotten the confession out of Sami Zayn that he's this bad person yet that he really wanted or was looking for. So it looks like that feud is going to continue, and it would not shock me whatsoever to see it continue at SummerSlam. And if it does happen, I do believe that Karrion Kross will get a victory there. The Wyatt Six just got number one contenders Andrade and Rey Fenix. We'll see if that is a match for SummerSlam or if that's a match for SmackDown. And then the LWO versus the Judgment Day, Finn Balor and JD McDonough. Obviously, that would be huge exposure for a team like the LWO with Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde, who really are not used whatsoever on Monday Night Raw. That would be pretty, I'm going to be frank, that would be pretty random and a huge exposure to see them be put on SummerSlam. So we'll see if that, once again, is going to be a Monday Night Raw affair or if they're going to give him that big spotlight and do it into SummerSlam. Either way, I think that the matches that I just listed as potentials and or maybes will be good matches, and we have yet to see something with the Women's United States Champion, Julia. Right as of right now, it doesn't look like there is a lot going on between them, so we'll see what happens. But as of right now, it was just that Red Sox game I mentioned at the top of the show. There is one out. Red Sox are up 7-6. One out, and the Phillies have a man on third. And right now, if the Red Sox strike them out and get the next two outs, then they will win this game and not get swept by the Phillies. So let's hope for a Boston Red Sox victory there. But anyway, guys, I would just like to say this has been Ginormous. I would like to thank everybody for their support. It has been a great time. I just finished up my underrated prospect for the NFL draft. Guys and rookies who are kind of flying under the radar, who I believe will make a really big impact. That's been a really fun series for me. I'd like to thank everybody who has been interacting and participating in those. So that just got finished up, and there is a lot more content to come on Conti and Nick, Ginormous, and In the Nick of Time. Once again, I'd like to thank everyone for their support, and this has been Ginormous.